I love disagreement. If I had to choose my favorite business concept of all time, it'd go back to Abraham Lincoln's team of rivals. I don't want everybody to agree with me. I want people who tell me that I'm dumb. How are you not seeing this? I want people who have different ideas and different experiences. My strongest point isn't finances. My strongest point isn't management. I'm great with strategic vision, culture. I know what I'm good at. I need people who are fantastic at what they're good at to tell me when I'm wrong. I do force all my folks to read Radical Candor. But at the end of the day, I run by the philosophy of disagree twice, then commit. You can disagree with me twice, come up, don't tell me that's a dumb idea. I want to hear, hey, I think we should consider doing it this way. And then we can talk about that. And if I say no, I'm okay with twice. And then the third time, even if you don't agree, you have to commit to what the strategic decision is for the company.
Welcome to the CEOpeek show, where we uncover the essence of extraordinary leadership by interviewing CEOs with over 90% approval ratings on Glassdoor. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the CEOpeek. I am honored to be today with Lisa Rosenthal, the CEO of Mayvin, and that we invite CEOs that have high rating on Glassdoor. And Lisa has a 92% approval rate, something to dream of. And the company itself have 4.3 stars with raving reviews about something that actually really, I was very curious about the culture and the leadership, openness, and I'm sure we're going to have a great conversation today. Hi, Lisa. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Super excited to be here.
Yeah. So I would love to, we just met, we didn't know each other before, and I'd love to hear more about your journey. I look at your LinkedIn profile, of course, and I saw that how you went from the government and now you're serving the government, and especially how you turned entrepreneur and started a company. That was kind of, what is that shift and the turn that you had?
There's a lot of questions in there. So let's start in the beginning. So when I came out to the Washington, D.C. area, I grew up in small town Michigan, and I loved it. It was a great place to be, but I wanted to be supporting the government in some capacity. So I came to D.C. for college, and my intention was to become a lawyer. I was going to become an international lawyer, solving world problems, et cetera, et cetera. And I had this really amazing professor at my university, American University in DC, and he invited me to work at his company. It's a really great story about how I actually got started. But at the end of the day, it turns out he was the COO of a government contracting firm named Answer. Interestingly, I'm working with them again today. And this was 30 years ago. It was actually 32 years ago. And he said, I think you should come work for me. And I said, yes. And that was the first time I even knew what a government contractor was. And I supported the Air Force and ballistic missile defense and all of these really big government projects. And I fell in love. I absolutely fell in love with government contracting, supporting the government and supporting our military. And from there, I created a career out of government contracting. I've been a government civilian. I've been a government contractor for large companies, small companies, and everything in between. And I don't think you become an entrepreneur. I think you are an entrepreneur. There's something in the pit of your stomach that says that you're calling, and it says, I need to do my own thing. I need to create something. I need to be more than just the sum of my parts. And so in 2008 is when it all came out, and I started Mayvin with a bunch of amazing human beings.
Yeah. There was a kind of a sense of agency that come with that, right? You kind of, so it came from within, and it's a calling to be an entrepreneur, but it's actually, I sense that the sense of agency to be the owner of your own future. Did I get that right?
It is. I think it's more of a desire to serve and create. I had been working for a multi-billion-dollar firm, and I felt like I was just a number. I was uninteresting. And I felt at the time that I could do it better. I could be a better leader. I'm not saying my leaders weren't great in some capacity, but I wanted to know where my people were, what they wanted to do, how they wanted to follow their passions. I wanted to be part of something, right? I wanted to help design a future and help support America as well. And that's what we do today. So the story actually in 2008, I called a bunch of people that I thought were super smart and said, hey guys, let's quit our jobs, go to a salary of zero and start a company. And they all looked at me and said, are you insane? We have no money. We have no idea how to write proposals. We've never been middle management. And did I mention we have no money? And I said, great. We know how to treat people. We know how to talk to people. And we know how to act with dignity and respect at all times. And so, no kidding, 6 months later, we quit our jobs, went to a salary zero, and started Mayvin. And so in the last 17 years, we went from 1 to over 100 million with just some scrappy people who believed in doing the right thing.
Yeah. And is that sense of being part of something also creating that sense to the people that work with you on the leadership team and around the organization, being part of something? How do you build that sense when you bring new people to the organization?
I think you bring your whole self to the organization, and that helps. I know we have almost 600 people here. I know at least 80% of them, and they're distributed across 33 states, and we support every what we call combatant command. So we support every international major event. Getting to know them is hard because it is fully distributed and getting the culture out. For me, it's about standing behind what you're saying and communicating effectively. So the cornerstone for me of leadership is the communication. And that has to be authentic communication, not over communication, not under communication, and striking the balance, because it doesn't matter how smart or how good or how pure you are if you can't communicate that message and live behind it.
That's very interesting. A lot of CEOs actually that I work with kind of refrain of going down the organization. They feel like if they will go and communicate with people, they will kind of bypass their direct reports and other managers in organization. And if it sense that actually you connect yourself with people many levels below you. So when you say to know them, what does it mean actually?
So I'll tell you, I know all my management. My leadership team is phenomenal. And that's probably the best piece of advice I could give to people growing and scaling a company is choose the right leadership team that supports you all the way down to the team leader level. Your team leaders, your site leads, your program managers, your project managers, your C-suite, every one of the division managers, no matter who it is, they have to be on the same page as you because they get your message out. And I do talk to employees on the client site. Just last week, I took 5 people out to lunch that were on a client site that I normally wouldn't get to. And it was an opportunity for me to learn what they're really thinking about. It's an opportunity for them to hear what I'm thinking about and ask questions one on one. So I try to take people out to lunch somewhat regularly. I send an email once a week, which is a lot, once a week to the entire company about everything I'm thinking about. I call it 5 things you need to know. And it's whatever's in my brain, and Lord knows what comes out every week. But it's all the major things happening, right? And people respond back saying, oh, yeah, that mattered a lot to me. And I want to follow up with this tuition reimbursement, or well, I heard about this class that you guys were hosting. So
That's so beautiful. I
it's a
like the
really
idea.
great team. It's a really great team.
Yeah, but look, it's a great team, but you created the team in a way. So are you involved in hiring leadership in other than your direct reports?
It depends on the position. I think there are some positions that it is essential that I'm going to have to work with them. And I'm not going to lie, I'm not the lowest maintenance person on the planet. I'm the energizer bunny with in terms of energy. I start early, I end late, right? I believe in work-life balance or integration or whatever fancy term, but the people who work directly with me, I am involved with that. So it's not just direct reports. I only have a couple of direct reports. But for example, we're hiring a lead for HR, and I'll get involved in the HR hiring because that is my representative to the people. So I have to get to know them. They have to get to know me because they have to believe in what I'm trying to sell, and I have to hear what they want to talk about and what they think is important. And we have to be lined up. We don't have to be 100% on the same page, but we have to be synchronous and complement the belief system, morality, ethics, integrity.
I'm so glad to hear that I was not the only one because everybody told me that I'm such a micromanager, that I'm involved in hiring a few levels, but I thought that's my responsibility to shape the organization when I was a CEO. And a lot of CEOs, even those that were here on the show, are not involved, a little bit disconnected from what's happening around the organization. And I think that your view about it is phenomenal.
I don't think I micromanage. A couple might disagree, but when you create the team, it has to represent you because anything that goes wrong in the company is my fault. If I have somebody at a level and they're behaving with a lack of ethics, shame on me for not knowing it. I think when you get to know the people, it's your job to control the left and right limits of the organization. So, regular communication, accessibility. I think for me, accessibility is one of the most important. I know my entire leadership team very, very well, no matter what state they're based in. And if they don't work out, I have zero issues firing somebody who lacks ethics or is in complete disagreement with how we want to run the company. It is a people first, mission always kind of concept. And we've kept that clearly as people first, mission always. And then there's people who just want to make it all about the bottom line. We're not an all about the bottom line firm. And I respect those people. They just don't belong as my leadership team because they're not putting the people first. And the only way I'm successful is if the people are happy and the people are first.
Yeah, let's double click on this disagreement that you just mentioned. How do you deal with conflict? Well, conflict, I mean, when disagreement arises and people want to pull to different direction, what is your way to bring people together in disagreement?
I love disagreement. I believe if I had to choose my favorite business concept of all time, it'd go back to Abraham Lincoln's team of rivals. I don't want everybody to agree with me. I want people who tell me that I'm dumb, right? Like, well, how are you not seeing this, right? I want people who have different ideas and different experiences. My strongest point isn't finances. My strongest point isn't management. I'm great with strategic vision, culture. I know what I'm good at. I need people who are fantastic at what they're good at to tell me when I'm wrong. And so with that, I do force all my folks to read Radical Candor. All the management team has to read Radical Candor. I don't know if you've read it. It's the one where, yep, I think it's one of the most brilliant business books of all time to run a company. Same with Team of Rivals, right? Where you get those people. But at the end of the day, I run by the philosophy of disagree twice, then commit. You can disagree with me twice, come up, don't tell me that's a dumb idea. I want to hear, hey, I think we should consider doing it this way. And then we can talk about that. And if I say no, I'm okay with twice. And then the third time, even if you don't agree, you have to commit to what the strategic decision is for the company. So
it's so important actually to have this language of commitment in organization. There are people that sometimes haven't heard the word commit and commitment for weeks because accountability comes with commitment, right?
it does.
So I think that developing a language of commitment and bring people to commit to something, commitment is a very strong word, isn't it?
And scary.
And scary. Exactly that,
Mhm.
because people can hold you accountable for that. So I found that commitment it's create a culture that you want to have the disagreement and that leads to commitment. So you can hold people accountable to their commitments and not just to your wishful thinking expectations, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to be committed to the cause. You have to agree with the mission and vision of the firm and where it goes. Do you want to be a lifestyle firm? Do you want to be stagnant? Do you want to be high growth? Do you want to be people first? None of these are mutually exclusive, but everybody has to be on the same page. You can't have one that's willing to run 100 miles an hour and then one running 5 miles an hour because it creates discontent across the team. So I do believe in regular check-ins, but not too much. I want them to run their own programs, their own divisions, and know when to reach me. My executive leadership team is bar none phenomenal. We meet regularly. We're on text chains, we're on signal chains, you name it. Part of the beauty of a smaller business or a mid-sized firm, in our industry, we're considered a mid-sized firm. In other industries, we're super small. In other industries, we're super large. But in the government contracting industry, we're about a mid-size. So we meet, my executive team, we text if there's something we need to talk about right there. We meet once a week to get us on the same page. And I trust that they know what they're doing. I hired people who are really good. The least amount of time I've known somebody on my executive team is 6 years. So it's long-standing relationships with inherent trust built in. And they know when to come to me. I know when to go to them. And that doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah. And you need so that you have some high tenors in the organization and probably low attrition, I assume. Let's talk about candor. I read a book when it came out. I listened to a talk of Kim, I forgot her family name, and found it fascinating. But very few of my clients, I coach CEOs, executives, and very, very few of them actually have that candor. And if they have, it's only one way towards from up down. Do people really give you like candor to you too? And how do you bring them to have radical candor with you? With them, it's easy because we use our authority. But how is that you encourage them to have them with you?
I ask for feedback and input regularly. And it's being able to accept it, knowing as long as it's done with respect, you can say almost anything. I can tell you, they have no problems telling me when they think I'm wrong. No issues whatsoever. For example, I try to play silly games with them to make them learn my leadership concepts and what I believe in. At the last leadership offsite, it was actually really fun and super impactful. After reading Radical Candor, and I had everybody read it, I think there was 15 of us at the time, or 16 in the room. I paired them up with people they worked with, and they had to, in the period of 10 minutes, tell them I had 3 questions I had is something you like working about the other person, something that you'd like to see evolve in their relationship with the other person, and something you're working on internally to have a better relationship with the other person. And there were some powerful aha moments because I forced people who work together to actually have the communication. I knew some of them were having issues with the other, and it somehow broke through once they were able to talk about it, and it stopped the festering, it stopped the whining, and it just brought it to the surface. I think you have to ask for feedback, but it has to be in the right way. One of the ways I just did it is I mentioned I do 5 things you need to know. I send it out every week to the company. And last week, I sent out, tell me one positive about working here and one thing you'd like to see change about working here. Fairly innocuous question, but it's super powerful. And in it, I received 200 different responses about different things that people were concerned about. And some of them are like, how are we not doing this already? Others were like, oh, yeah, we're never doing that. Like people asked for, I don't like that we don't get a gym membership paid for. I'm like, really? But then I got some really powerful things like, I don't feel like the leadership tells us enough about the company and I only know my job. And for me, that's impactful. Like it hurt me to think, wow, I'm not communicating about Mayvin as a whole. How do I get this out? So it's going to change the way we do business. I'm actually going to host a lunch and learn next month about teaching them about the things that they need to know or how they get their salaries or why they get their salaries. And just to hear that feedback, invaluable for making you a better firm, to increase retention. Our retention is some of the highest in our industry. And I contend it's because we listen and act on new data. So it was a very long answer.
Yeah, it was great to understand. It's kind of, I can see that candor, you created some structure into candor by sending that question, by communicating weekly with your employees. So there is some structure. And it's so important that employees will learn because, look, we don't know how to be in candor, especially radical candor, outside of work, with friends, with our family members, with our spouses, so reserved. So bringing suddenly candor into life at work it's quite difficult actually,
It is.
isn't it? Yeah. I coach leaders at Netflix, and I don't know if you heard about Netflix culture. Oh, the founder wrote a book about no rules. But if you think about like 50% of what he wrote about the culture at Netflix is about candor. How
I'm
they
taking a note to write this down to read it.
It's amazing. No rules. And although it's very different industry because it's a creative, but you look at very highly successful company and that the founder and the CEO contributes the success to culture and specifically the candor. So when you started to explain how you work, it's suddenly the book itself, content, and my client itself and the leader that I work with actually pretty show up. But they created a structure actually. So everybody will learn how to give and receive feedback and how to create that. So they put some, although there's no rules there, to help people to be in candor. Because we don't know as human beings, I don't know what happened to us. We just don't know how to be in candor.
It does help that I'm surrounded with a lot of super type A's around me who have no problems putting their 2 cents forward. Sometimes it's 4 cents, and I really like them to do 2 cents. But I always worry that my more introverted leadership, and introverts are great leaders, right? But some of my more introverted folks don't get out what they want to say because they get trampled by the other elephants in the room. But having a lot of former military law enforcement around here, it provides a different level of how do you survive in this environment. Like, I feel like I dance with elephants almost every day. And how do you get the ones that aren't the elephants to get their opinions out and their ideas out? Because the introvert has brilliant ideas because many times they're better observers and to get their candor out. So how do you do it with one-on-ones? How do you do it in group settings? It's a battle I think every single CEO and manager deals with.
I'm coming from a culture that is very strong in candor, originally from Israel. So Israeli society is very, people actually don't even respect authority. And remember when moving to Asia, to Hong Kong, I was like an elephant in the porcelain shop, right? Because the culture is so different and candor is not allowed. It's just kind of going against the culture in countries like Singapore, Thailand, Japan, Korea. And the US is somewhere in the middle between like high candor and low candor. So it's not as difficult as to do it in multinational, in overseas, right? So, but it's very interesting because you have leaders. So there's some cohesiveness that come from people who have a military background and they learn how to speak out before they come to the firm. So you leverage that.
Yes. How do you reach in? Because it's why I hired them is they were raised with a very distinct leadership style. Most of the military, very specific, but they have to get their opinions out. But I go back to disagree twice, then commit. If somebody's still telling me 4 times later that they think it's stupid what we're doing, I've lost interest because they haven't been able to convince me. And 90% of the time, I'm going to agree with somebody when they come in and say, hey, I don't think we should do this. I would tell you it's easily 90%. It's less than 10%. I'm like, we're not going that route. As long as you have a reasonable idea and you're presenting it. But nobody responds to a radical candor that's, hey, you're really stupid. This is a really dumb idea. Where the radical candor comes in is how do you present? Say, well, maybe we should consider. Now, I don't even need maybe and we should or just that the soft language doesn't work. It's here's what I think we should do. This is why. 9 times out of 10, almost any leader will say, absolutely, that's what we should do. I agree. Let's execute that way. Presentation matters and being respectful matters.
Exactly. Well, stupid is not really an actionable feedback.
No,
For me, I don't see it as candor at all because it's
I
not
don't know.
candor, just unfiltered emotional response, right? It means like you want to give feedback, you want to make it actionable, and otherwise it's not really a good feedback.
Agreed. It has to be presented intelligently with absolutely what's the impact? What's the recommended action? What's the change? Are there any metrics involved? Not just, I don't like that. My gut says it's a bad idea. If I listen to that all the time,
Yeah. Your weekly email, what's on your mind? I love, by the way, the title or the idea of that, right? And I used to do it as a CEO. I actually wrote a weekly blog at a time that because it was such a large company all around the world. So I couldn't meet all the time employees in different locations. So I wrote what's on my mind and I wrote it as a story, as a blog. I thought nobody's reading the CEO bullshit. And until I found out that actually everybody's reading that and was a way to communicate. Yeah, a lot of CEOs don't find a way to, especially when the team today in our virtual world, that people work from home to really connect in a way that what technology enables them to send those kind of emails or platform for like big thinking, not like something that he needs from them, right? So I think it's a great idea.
I love it. It's much harder than you'd think. How do you limit it to 5 things? Like this week, I have 15 things I want to talk about, but what are the really impactful things that are on my mind? Like the government shutdown and that ending, right? That's been on my mind a lot. So what's the impact on us? What are we doing? How are we doing it? So that'll be one. There's almost always something fun in there that I'm thinking about or a book that I'm reading. If I'm reading a book that I absolutely love, I'll frequently send it out to everybody saying, oh my gosh, reading this amazing book. First 10 people that respond, I'll send the book to you. And sometimes it's something as simple as that. But it's whatever's on my mind or things or decisions we're grappling with. Like, right? I need to hear what people want. I don't remember the last one, performance evaluations. I'll send out a note saying, yeah, everybody hates the performance evaluation. I think it's the number one worst thing anybody deals with is how do you get graded? Because the moment somebody's told they're doing a good job, they're like, what? No, I'm doing an exceptional job. I want more. So, and I'll send out a note saying, anybody who has any great feedback would love to hear what you have to say. Sometimes 5 people respond, sometimes 50 people respond. And as long as we're listening to them, even if we don't agree, it gets it out there. And it knows that we're hearing them. And that matters, especially, like you said, in a fully distributed company where it's not all in one location. It's not like I get to walk into a factory on the floor and I'm like, oh, let's have a pizza party for everybody and talk. It's got to be different. And these people are very highly educated that work with us. They're subject matter experts in their field. I'm sure you're aware, as an Israeli, Mayvin, it means a subject matter expert. It's a Hebrew word. And so we're all subject matter experts here. And you can't play games with them. They need to hear what you're thinking, and I need to hear what they're thinking. They have great ideas.
Yeah. So, if I remember correctly, when I looked at your LinkedIn profile before, that you co-founded the company, right? So, I'm curious, a lot of challenges coming from founders that have co-founders.
Yep.
And I love to learn. My middle son is a startuper and he's a co-founder. And every week I have these stories, like hell stories about the relationship between co-founders. And I worked with co-founders before with a lot of challenges. So I'm curious to learn a little bit about the challenges that you have, how you overcame them to such a 17 or almost 18 years right now, right? So I'd love to hear more about it.
That's a really big question. And so I will tell you, let me start with the back and move to the front. Is the same first business partner that I had, a gentleman named Victor Porowski. We've actually worked together every single day for 21 years. He started the firm with me and he'll end the firm with me. He's fantastic. I rely on him more than anything. They've done studies on us as a management team. They refer to him as the rock to my tornado. He's going to kill me for saying this publicly, but he's this really dorky, brilliant finance guy. This would be his personal idea of hell, getting in front of people and being seen out there. But he can look at any spreadsheet and tell you the one broken formula in it. He knows how to keep us on track, and he'll tell you that he helps make reality of any great idea that I have. He's super great at execution. And then he's not an owner of the firm, but there's a third guy that's absolutely exceptional at that as well, a gentleman, my COO named Pat McGovern. So they balance me out beautifully. But I started the firm with Victor, and he started with just a small percent of the firm. Now he owns a substantial amount. He owns over 25%. And we fit together very well. And I would tell you the reason is we scaled together as we grew the company. And if I'm talking to CEOs, if I'm talking to leadership that want to have scalable companies that are entrepreneurs and they start with zero and they want to become 10 million, 20 million, 50, 100, quarter billion, if they want to do that, it's different people at different stages of development. The same people that start a company are never going to be the same people that finish the company. And every month I ask myself, am I the right one to lead the company at this size? Is there somebody who could take this and make it better? And I worry about getting over my skis. Like, am I good enough for this? I'm constantly in classes. I'm constantly learning. And the same with Victor. So we had, over the years, we had 3 other business partners who were very great for their role, but they weren't right for Mayvin, and they all self-selected out. It wasn't just the right time. It was adult conversations that say, nope, I want to do something else, or I want to focus more on my personal life. Because if everybody isn't on the same page with how much effort you're willing to expend, where you want to go, how much money are you willing to expend, how much risk are you willing to take, it doesn't work. It does not work. And although they were all fantastic people, they weren't right. One of them lasted only 2 weeks at the firm. We got rid of, it was 2 weeks. And it was like, nope, we're not on the same page. You shouldn't be here. Doesn't mean he's not a great person. It just means he wasn't meant to be an entrepreneur, which is fine. But you have to have those radical candor conversations to say, you don't belong here. And I think my favorite question is, how do you feel that you're a fit right now with the firm? Do you feel like this is really where you belong? And yeah, it changes. And it turns out the breakup of a partnership is far more expensive than a divorce. And I've done both. So
Me too.
breaking up a partnership is hard because I spend more time with my business partner than I do with my real life partner. It's hard because you're tied together financially, you're tied together emotionally. Like, you are in the trenches every day, the risk. So business partnerships are hard. Victor really is. He holds me accountable unlike anybody else does. He'll walk in here and tell me I'm stupid without a problem. He'll frequently do it with a bottle of whiskey. We'll walk in and say, we need to talk. But being able to have that open relationship where it's back and forth and we can snip at each other, we can have a drink together, we can celebrate together, it's so important. And the people that I've surrounded myself with now, they're extraordinary at what I'm not extraordinary at. It's those radical candor. I think everything comes back to communication and candor.
Yeah. Well, I think that you mentioned, I totally agree with you, by the way, that relationship are relationship, whether they are personal or business. At the end of the day, you have 2 human beings or more that actually creating something together. And so somebody that doesn't have radical candor at home won't have it at work, and vice versa. Somebody won't take risk at work, won't take risk in their personal life too. So I never separate the two because they are both embodied and together. So Do you bring radical candor home?
He would tell you a little bit too much radical candor some days. I don't think speaking my mind is my number one problem. It's probably the opposite, and maybe I should shut up a little bit more. So, yes, I'm a big fan of honesty. Straight out, a huge fan. I just don't think there's a better way to behave. I don't need the discontent. I don't like things that linger. I just don't like things that go on because they'll gnaw at me and grate at me and they become bigger than they really are if I'd have just nipped it in the bud right away. So,
I think that there's so much freedom in being authentic. The question actually, what makes us not authentic? Because if we are, think about it, how difficult it is to be real, right? For many people. And you mentioned earlier, surface the elephants in the room. And sometimes I enter boardrooms and I just cannot get in because so many elephants in the room. You just feel it in the air that people are not speaking their mind. And so surfacing and bringing the elephants in the room, it's so critical for team performance. But many elephants are still exist in leadership teams.
I agree with you. And so I've developed something, well, I've stolen it from multiple people, really, but we do it here. It's called Elmo. I'm sure you've heard this before. I have these giant flags in the room that have Elmo on them, giant face of,
No, I never heard about it. What is it?
the old Elmo dolls, right? I think it's the Muppets. I don't know. The dolls, Elmo. Okay. Well, I promise you the people in the audience will have known what Elmo is. And I translated it to, because I heard this from someone. It was just such a great concept for me. And it was enough, let's move on. ELMO. So if somebody waves this toy doll up, it's Elmo, Elmo, and it makes it a non-confrontational way to stop the meeting and to reset and say, well, should we continue this? It's too passionate right now. Should we move on? But Elmo, if two people Elmo a topic, I know the elephants have gotten to be trampling too much. And it's really great to see these 50-something-year-old men waving an Elmo doll around saying, Elmo, Elmo. Right? Elmo's the little doll that you push the stomach and it giggles. It's okay. You're going to have to look up Elmo later. That's your task.
Yeah, I love it. I use different, but the same idea actually, like timeout in sports, that everybody should call a timeout when they see an elephant in a room and bring it as a question. I'm noticing this and this. Am I the only one? Or just like that pause actually create that space to observe how we are working together. So whether it's Elmo, which I love it, it's just it's a way there's so many ways to pattern interrupt a meeting that is not going well, or people that see there's an elephant in the room and they want to check in. Am I the only one that see the elephant or anybody else? So I love it. I'm curious about your leadership team. Can you share more how you build? Because we probably both agree that leadership team, you mentioned that earlier, is a key to have a high performing and successful organization that grows. So what specifically you're doing you mentioned offsite earlier, what are you doing to bring that leadership team together? What do you do when you have new members? And just give a little bit your philosophy.
So we work under, I think it's a right size up org chart, but we work under an upside down triangle org chart. So I'm at the bottom of it. I think I belong at the bottom of it. And it's amazing how many people have said to me over the years, what's it like to have so many people working for you? Like, what are you talking about? I've never worked for more people in my life. Being a leader isn't having people work for you. It's working for them. That's one of the biggest things I've learned. It's the concept of servant leadership, right? It goes back to ancient Chinese times. There's lots of it, Admiral Stockdale in Vietnam. But the servant leadership model and getting the same people on there. So I'm at the bottom of the pyramid, and then Pat, Victor, and Margot, who are my next layer up, and they do my chief strategy, they're my chief operating officer, and my chief financial officer. So the four of us compose the C-suite. And then the next layer up, of course, directors or vice presidents or whoever the case may be. Then we put at the top of the pyramid the employees, because that's quite frankly who we work for. And the moment we get that wrong, we're not running a business, we're running a dictatorship. And here's a little secret. People can leave in the industry and you don't call it AWOL. You have to find a way to work for them and hear them and get back. So how do I get to know them? There's regular communication. Like there's a weekly meeting with the directors. I don't attend that one. I attend maybe once a month because they know each other. If they hear from me, they pass it on. If there's a question, sometimes they invite me. They all text me, Signal. WhatsApp, Teams, email, call. It's a pretty tight-knit team. And we do have the monthly corporate all hands, which we do. We send out the 5 things, and everybody has to contribute to the 5 things. Everybody dreads it when it's there, and everybody has to do it once a year, and they work up to it. But it's getting everybody on the same page, right? We do an annual meeting for 3 days where we tear down every single thing and we build it back up to make sure we're doing the right thing. And it's an exhausting 3 days, I'm not going to lie. But I think we're better because of it. And then we do quarterly check-ins and every 6 months. But I can't pull them away from their people. They have to be of a high enough task level maturity to come and talk to me when they need to, but they don't need to talk to me. They have the C-suite, which we're all on the same page because we do talk regularly. So going up the pyramid, I communicate with them less and less because the next layer of command, they're operating under the same premise I am. We're all in sync, and we'll fight about it before there's something to fight about. Make sense?
Yeah. So the core decisions are done in the C-suite of 4.
The major left and rights, I can't tell them how to get it done. I can tell them, here are your left and right limits.
Strategy.
Right. Here's the left and right. Don't go past this. Don't go past this. And here's your objective. With the guys that we have around here, by guys, I mean men and women. I'm not being sexist. It's with the folks we have around here. They know how to do this. They don't need to be told how to write a document. They need to say, hey, we need a strategy on this. Don't use this, don't use that, but figure it out. They work at a high task level maturity. I can't babysit them. I don't want to babysit anybody. I've never babysat in my life. I don't plan on starting it now. I think you have to trust your people. A core tenet of leadership is trust. You create that bond, and they know when to say, whoa, hold on, I need more or I need less. And that's where the radical candor comes in.
Yeah. You mentioned about sex, and I just like to ask you, first of all, you are the first woman CEO right now on this 3rd season of the show. In the 2nd season, we have a few, but it's like, then we are now, I don't know, 4 or 5 months into the 3rd season, and I call my coordinator, what's going on? Not female. It felt so uncomfortable for me to have a show that only male. I don't want to get in this show into the manosphere. So when I saw your email, yes, I was like jumping to the roof. So that's an opportunity to see. So that you will speak to other female executives with aspiration, either entrepreneurs or just corporate people, about your experience and what they can learn from you as a female CEO. I think it's very important for them to understand that point of view and angle.
I'd love to address this. This is my number one favorite and hated question at the same time. So what's it like to be a female CEO? I don't know. What's it like to be a male CEO? You're just a CEO. At the end of the day, I'm a CEO. Nobody cares that I have ovaries. They care that I'm really, really good at my job. I'm not going into a room flirting with somebody. I'm not going into a room, I'm going into a room and I'm speaking when I know what I'm talking about, shutting my mouth when I don't. And that's male and female. So I would tell women, don't draw attention to it. I don't hide the fact that I'm a woman. I love being a woman. I love being a feminine woman at that. Middle-aged feminine woman, right? And I'm a CEO. I'm a female CEO. I'm a CEO who happens to be a female. And there's a very big differentiation there. I don't want special treatment because of my body parts. I want special treatment because I'm better than they are. And it's better than I'm not going to compete just with women. I'm not going to compete just with men. I'm competing with my competitors. So advice that I'd give to women is leave your sexuality and sex at the door. Lead with your competence and confidence. I cannot tell you how many women I've watched, and I've seen men do the same thing, go into a room and be cute and funny. I don't need that. I need somebody to come in with ideas and how to do it. And women also, I've noticed, have a tendency to use soft language. So I was just thinking, that's not how you're going to be taken seriously. I recommend we do this. Here's why. So for women and men who aren't doing it, change your speech patterns to powerful, affirmative, assertive language. It doesn't mean you're a bitch. It doesn't mean that you're aggressive. It means you're saying what your opinion is. And if you're in a room where somebody's not listening, you're in the wrong room. Or you need to evaluate your communication style. I love, and people judge her and mock her, I think Sheryl Sandberg's Lean In is one of the most brilliant books for women. She brought up topics that need to be talked about. Women or men, junior men, don't sit on the outsides if you're one of the leaders. Sit at the head at the table. I love watching a 22-year-old walk into a room and try to sit at the big kid table And then I'll see a woman who's a senior leader go sit on the outsides of the conference room. Like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You're the leader. I don't care what your gender is. Show up. Put your 2 cents in. Don't become meek and mild. Nobody's going to listen to meek and mild no matter what it is. Sorry, that was a very, very long answer.
That was a great answer. Yeah, share the same view. It was beautiful.
I was booed off a stage. It was a few years ago. I can't remember what event it was. It's actually happened a few times. They'd asked me to speak at a Women in whatever event. And the question I received is, what programs do you have to support women in technology? Theoretically, it's a great question. What programs do you have to support women in technology? My answer was, I don't. I have programs set up to support competence in technology. I don't care if you're red, black, orange, yellow, white, pink, male, female, identify as a goat. I don't care who you are. I care that you're bringing it all and you're willing to work for it. So it was a pretty big deal to get booed. I was like, wow, the number of people who think they deserve special treatment. I don't.
Absolutely. Lisa, it was such a joy. I enjoyed so much that conversation with you. I didn't expect that. I thought, oh, company that work for government contracts will be very different. That's how you showed up in the show today and your leadership philosophy. It was fascinating. And anything that you want to close with?
You said something earlier about authenticity, and this is something that I've been thinking about a lot. And I do believe you have to bring your authentic self to work to a point. I think it's more of a topic of conversation to have. Is authenticity important or is consistency important? Right. And I've heard for years that authenticity is the most important tenet or cornerstone of leadership. I'm starting to believe that it's consistency. If one day I'm having a bad day, it doesn't matter to the people out there. They have to know that I'm available and I'm going to give the same answer. I don't think anybody should ever be surprised about what my answer is going to be. So consistency, predictability, choose your word. As a leader, I don't get to have bad days to the guy on the client site who's making not a huge amount of money that needs to talk about something. They need to be heard. And it doesn't matter what my day is. It matters what their day is. So I do believe that leaders have to flip how they're thinking about it. Be you, but you don't get to bring the bad version of you to work, at least not to the staff. Bring it to your executive team. Go ahead. I can tell you, I have been a holy terror to my executives. I'm never going to be a holy terror to the guy on the ground who's just getting stuff done. So my recommendation to all leaders and entrepreneurs is, yes, authenticity, but with consistency. Please don't be that random hothead that just goes off the handle and you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah. And they're not either or, it's both and,
Yeah.
right? Being consistently authentic.
I love that. There's a book. I think we just wrote ourselves a book, Dave.
Here we go, co-authors.
Co-authors.
Lisa, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. And thank you for watching the show. Looking forward to see you in the next episode.
Same. Thank you so much for letting me be your first woman on. Take care.